Good morning. Happy Easter. Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Warsnop, delighted to arrive at my 6th Easter service as minister of this congregation. I greet the good people here in the sanctuary and all of you on Zoom and YouTube coming to us from wherever you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is good to be together on this holy morning in a season that is holy for so many religious traditions. I welcome you all, infants and sages, newly arrived, long-time members, and friends. Today we celebrate both Easter and Earth Day, 2 holy days that land in the spring for overlapping reasons. I love knowing that Easter, the holiest day on the Christian calendar, is actually set by the rhythms of the earth. Easter lands on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. The first day of spring was March 19th, and the moon was full just last night. I also really appreciate knowing that part of Earth Day's origins arise here in coastal California because of a horrific oil spill from an oil derrick or platform just off of Santa Barbara in 1969. It was so horrible, people awoke and decided, whoa, we need to do something. We need to do something. And yet, I also love knowing that the first Earth Day was set on April 22nd because that was spring break for many college students in the 1970s. And student Earth activists would have more free time to be part of Earth Day. The holy and the practical all wound together, as really they always are. As the earth awakes into spring, we too can awaken to new life, to deeper connections, to the possibilities of resurrection and rebirth and emergence into the world. And as we begin, let us, honoring this precious land on which we live, let us also acknowledge that this precious land, this earth that we walk upon, and from which our lives arise, is and has been home to many peoples for centuries, for millennia. And on this day, may we acknowledge the Chumash peoples who called this land home far longer than any of us. Let us arrive here fully together. From wherever you are joining this service, feel yourself present. Feel yourself in your seat, in your body, feeling the breath in and out of your body. And let us enter sacred space.
I'm Worship Associate Ruth Capel. We invite those who are Zooming or streaming into this service to light a chalice or candle at home as Reverend Dana lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary.
We begin our service this morning with these words from poet and Unitarian E.E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I, who have died, am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of love, of life, of love and wings, and of the gay, great, happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, lifted from the know of all nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning and welcome here in the sanctuary and online. My name is Carolyn Bierke. I'm the music director, and I'd like to invite you to join me in singing our opening hymn, Now the Green Blade Riseth. Please rise in body or spirit. Now the green blade riseth from the buried grain, wheat that in dark earth many days has lain. Love lives again, that with the dead has been. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. In the grave they laid him, loved by hatred slain, thinking that never he would wake again. Laid in the earth like grain that sleeps unseen. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. When our hearts are wintry, grieving or in pain, love's touch can call us back to life again. Fields of our hearts that dead and bare have been, love is come again, like wheat that springeth green.
Together, we will go on a journey. Our journey begins in complete emptiness. An emptiness that is really getting ready to find holiness, though at first it might seem just, well, empty.
You might think of the emptiness as the sorrow of Jesus' followers. They were lost and so sad when he was killed. And Jesus died on a Friday just as the sun set, which was the beginning of the Sabbath for Jews, which meant they could not prepare his body properly for burial, which meant they had to wait all through Saturday when they could do no work at all, which meant they could not arrive at the cave where he had been placed until the sun rose Sunday morning. A long time, a long, painful time waiting in emptiness.
Or your emptiness may lie in how disconnected humans have become from the earth. We humans are creatures of the earth, yet we often forget this truth. It's easy to think that we are only living on top of it. We build homes and stores and offices upon the earth. We pave roads and drive all over the surface of the earth. It feels like we use the earth for our purposes and forget our connection to it completely. We forget that what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves, and also all the other plants and animals we share the earth with. It's even easy to forget to look at how beautiful the earth is. This can be a very lonely, empty feeling.
We can feel empty and lonely when we lose something dear to us, or when we are feeling so disconnected from the world and other creatures. Yet all sorts of ancient wisdom tells us that sometimes we need the emptiness to rest and prepare, to get ready for something new to emerge and grow in our hearts, to get ready for some new idea or action to gather strength.
Let our journey begin in emptiness, as we also stay open to the possibilities and holiness still before us.
Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. Those at home, you have two ways to give: through the link posted in the chat and by texting from your phone to the number that is on your screen. Folks present can text to give to that number on the screen, or you can still write a check or cash and then drop it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering this week goes to Camp de Benneville Pines, our UU camp in the San Bernardino Mountains. Camp needs our help. It's ours and it needs us all the time, but it particularly needs our help now because it is recovering from 2 years of pandemic, and also because of a fire last winter that burned right to the edges of camp, up to its very, very edges. So it's still in recovery mode. And many of you in this congregation have very fond memories of time at camp. A couple of years ago, we did a whole service about Camp de Benneville Pines. The Mendelson, Waldron, and Farr families shared their stories and their pictures and how much fun they had. Our men's groups hold a retreat there each year. Others go to music camp, yoga camp, art camp, Thanksgiving camp, and more. It was at camp that the Brinkmeyers' grandkids first shot bows and arrows. And Gudrun still remembers visits to Camp de Benneville with her daughters when they were young. Just being able to go to their very own place in the woods was awe-inspiring, rewarding, and fun for all. Camp has been our top vote getter for offerings for the last several in-reach, outreach ballots. And it's so fitting today as we celebrate Earth Day, because this is one of the places that so many of us deeply feel that connection to the earth that is so healing for us all. It is clearly a special place for folks in this congregation and in the congregations all over Southern California and even beyond. Thank you for giving generously to support the sacred work, the sacred experiences people have at Camp de Benneville Pines. And now we get to hear from our choir.
Blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. down in my veins. How bless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain.
My hands hold the wings of mine willow end. My sight as deep as the sea. Weaving my life sounds the pleasures of love and of love's eternity. That of love, that of love's eternity.
I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Often we need to go even deeper into the darkness, even unto death, before our emptiness is refilled, before we rediscover connections. And so our journey takes us deeper into darkness.
When last we left them, Jesus' followers were feeling empty and lost after their dear rabbi, their teacher, was killed. His body was laid in a cave, and a stone rolled over the entrance. For them, it felt as if they had entered this dark, dark cave along with him, alongside their beloved teacher. It felt to them as if a part of them inside them had died too. The Easter part of our journey today takes us into the darkness and asks the question, what is dying in our lives so that something new can live and grow?
Reverend Dana told me that when she taught third grade, her favorite science lesson was about food chains and webs, about life cycles and how everything depends on everything else to grow. Her favorite creatures in these cycles were the decomposers, the creepy, crawly, squiggling things that decompose and break down all things, changing what was once alive back into dirt. Earthworms and beetles and bacteria and fungi, turning decaying plants into nutrient-rich soil. So as we consider the Earth Day portion of the darkness, let us remember that earthworms actually eat all kinds of dead and decaying matter and poop it out as dirt. The rich, dark earth from which plants grow. Let us honor that darkness.
The process of emergence reminds us that things must die in order to live again. The time of emptiness and the darkness of dying are preparing the soil, literally and metaphorically, for new life to grow. Life can only emerge, sprout, and grow from what has died, from what has come before.
And so let the journey continue into darkness. The darkness can be a kind of death, and yet think how restful the dark is as well. Restful as sleep. Isn't that such a marvelous quality of the darkness when really tired and we finally get to go to bed? And so into the darkness, let go of what you must. Carry with you only what you need most, and rest, reflect, prepare in the darkness.
Part of staying connected within our community is sharing with one another the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts. The ripples that go out represent the way that something that touches the heart of one of us travels throughout the community to touch us all. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV this week. Those received by 10 p.m. on Saturday will be shared that Sunday, and none were received last night. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this beloved community. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat even after the silent pause has ended. Reverend Dana will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Part 3 of our story, hope. Death is never really an ending because hope is always waiting, even in the darkest times. Today, we will plant seeds in the soil. That's coming up after the service. I don't think I said that before. We're going to go outside and we're going to have a whole ritual, and it's going to include planting seeds. So we will plant seeds in the soil as an act of hope for the world and for your soul. For your own seed may remain buried for years and years, awaiting the sunlight and water that will relaunch your spirit and help you grow anew. In the time of waiting, may you rest in hope that one day you will sprout again. Seeds sprout each in their season with care and nurture, patience and time. May you nurture your own seed soul. Easter is exactly about such hope. Jesus' body died, though his message of radical love did not. It was planted deep in the hearts of his followers. It would wait there in the deep, rich, dark soil and grow forth again and again and again, even when we worry that nothing will ever grow again in our sad, weary hearts. The love is always there, waiting for just the right time, the warmth of sunlight, the water of life to rise again, to blossom again.
On Earth Day, we honor the resilience of life. That even in the harshest circumstances, life blossoms. That creative life force finds a way. Nature has found remarkable ways to stay resilient in the face of disaster. One of my favorite stories is about the fire ant in the aftermath of hurricanes like Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Harvey. So you can imagine that in the aftermath of a hurricane, when trees and earth and structures are completely swept away, there's no way that an ant would survive, right? An ant. However, that is just what fire ants were able to do in the wake of Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Harvey. You can imagine that a single fire ant would easily drown in the floodwaters. But little did you know that clusters of up to 100,000 fire ants are capable of creating water-repellent lifeboats that can float for weeks on end without drowning the ants. So the resilience of the earth and nature is everywhere to be found. Another favorite example is the story of the jack pine. So the jack pine cone from the jack pine tree is so melded shut with this resin that it's nearly impossible for the seed to escape and the tree to grow. It actually needs the strength of the forest fire to break open the resin and come out anew and become a jack pine. So a jack pine cone can be buried for decades, waiting for the fire to come and release it. Let us remember and honor the resilience of life. And let us know that emergence is the very life force that animates us all.
Emergence is the very life force that animates us all. We keep planting seeds again and again until what emerges brings healing and wholeness. The great love which Jesus taught, the love and beauty of the earth, the green blade of wheat rises from the buried grain, from the dark earth where it has lain. Death is always an ending and always a beginning.
The road of our journey leads on. We plant seeds of hope and possibility. We have almost all we need for the journey back to life. Just one thing is missing. We need the thing that makes all life. What do you think that is? Water and sun.
Is that just me?
Once more, we hear from our lovely choir. thank you, choir, Carolyn.
So we close our story today with life again, remembering that we began in emptiness, moved into darkness, we planted the seed, and now we need water. Water is the source of all life. When astronomers search our galaxy for other planets where life might exist, what they look for first is water. Without water, there is no chance for life to emerge.
Back to the Easter story. The very minute that the sun rose on the Sunday after he died, Jesus' followers rushed to the cave to prepare him properly for burial, and they found it empty. What? More emptiness? Not more emptiness. I've been through that one. It took time for Jesus' followers to understand that new life and new love were possible, that Jesus had never really left them. In a sense, he had never really died, because the seed of his love planted in his life, seemingly lost in the darkness of the cave, watered by their tears, the seed sprouted and lived again. Was this the resurrection of Jesus himself? Was it rebirth growing from the soil of his passing? Yes. Yes. All that and more.
The earth continues to turn on its axis day after day. Everywhere and every day, lives are ending and new life is being born. This happens even in vast galaxies, down to the tiniest single-celled beings and all the way in between. The earth abides, though the balance of life on it is delicate, even fragile. We must pay attention to it all, and most especially to our own contributions to the cycles of living and dying. Earth Day tells us to nurture growth in all its forms. Water is where life first formed on the earth. Water runs through all our veins, plants and animals. Water calls forth creation.
Water, the gift of life from the earth. Watered by rain, warmed by the sun, the seed emerges from the soil. Born of death, nurtured by lives that came before, planted with hope, new life emerges. The urgency of all life is so powerful. All the water on earth has cycled round again and again. It was in Jesus' tears, it watered the Buddha's tree of enlightenment. It waters all the plants. It fills our veins.
So let us, this Easter, rejoice in this new life. The journey is not over, for one, because we're about to take this same 4-step journey outdoors. But the journey is not over. Indeed, it is never really over. We go from life to death, to emptiness and darkness. We go from darkness to planting, to waiting with patience for our seed to sprout. Our soul seeds are watered and sprout and grow.
On this Easter morn, as our soul seeds prepare to emerge again, as we prepare our hearts to celebrate Earth Day, relishing the beauty of the earth, and all creatures of the earth and sky, recommitting ourselves to its care. As we feel the sap once again rising in our veins, knowing that we too may blossom with the spring, I invite you now to join me in prayer. Holy beingness of many names and no name, swirling cycles of creation, of birth and life again, spirit of love which arises again and again, even as it ever dwells within and among and beyond us this day and always. May we feel the emptiness that is sorrow and weariness, and also a waiting to be filled. May the darkness give us rest, even a little time to decay, and let go of what is too much. May we till our own rich, dark soil, so that what we now plant will have what it needs to emerge in its season. May we water our seed souls in hope and joy, and what sprouts and blooms, may it heal ourselves and the world. May we never forget that we are of the earth, and that the earth is in us. And as we care for the earth, we care for ourselves, that new life may arise and arise and arise and arise and arise. And may all those who are ill find healing. May those who are in despair find hope. May those who are without shelter find home. And may all those suffering in conflict and war throughout the world, and most urgently now in Ukraine, may all those people and may we find peace. Amen. And blessed be.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our closing hymn, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Lo, the earth awakes again, alleluia, from the winter's bond and pain, alleluia. Bring we leaf and flower and spring, alleluia, to adorn this happy day, alleluia. Once again the world comes true, alleluia. All the earth shall be made new, alleluia. Now where's dark old days are o'er, alleluia. Spring and gladness are before, alleluia. Change then mourning into praise, alleluia. And for dirges anthems raise, alleluia. How our spirits soar and sing, alleluia. How our hearts leap with the spring, alleluia.
Those here in the sanctuary, if you remain standing, for the Chalice Lighting and Benediction, and all you on YouTube at home, just rest, lie on back and get comfortable.
Please join me in reading the words on the screen. as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
So before the benediction and postlude, I invite those on Zoom into breakout rooms after the service. I invite you also right now just to turn on your screens and look about you and see who has joined you on this Eastern morn. And after the service, you will see a video from Fidelity guiding you through a ritual at home that similar to what we are doing here at church. For those of you who are here in person, I invite you, we're all going to leave by the front door, and we'll gather a few people who are sitting outside in the outdoor, in that, enjoying the service in our outdoor section. And we're going to walk over to the beginning of our meditation path through the parking lot. And so also, if you have cash or checks and you want to put them in the basket at the back on the way out, do so. And if any of you really have someplace to go right away, please wait till people have gotten all the way out to our ritual space before you drive away. Okay, so if you would like to stand closer to someone, bump some elbows, if you want to hook some arms, if you want to just stay here, all just interior in yourself, do what you want to do as I leave you with these words again from E.E. Cummings. May the leaping greenly spirits of trees arise in you again, connecting you to everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. May you walk with care and consciousness on this gay, great happening, illimitably earth. And may the ears of your ears awake and the eyes of your eyes open wide to beauty, to love, to connection with all that is, that we may all emerge and arise again and again and again. Go forth in love. Go forth in peace. Happy Easter. Happy Earth Day. May it be so.
Good morning, everyone. We join today for our 4-part Earth Day, Emergence, and Easter ritual. So for this ritual, you're going to need 3 things: some sort of empty vessel, some water, a glass of water, any water from the tap, and then you're going to need a plant. Now this can be a plant that is outside, or it can be a plant that is rooted in the ground. A blade of grass, a tree, a flower, any plant will work. So those are our 3 items for our 4-part ritual today. So we begin our ritual this Easter by acknowledging the emptiness in our life. For so often, on the other side of that emptiness is a sense of holiness. So I invite you to hold your empty vessel, your flower pot, your plant pot in your hands. And as we stare into the vacant space, we think about, where are the areas of lack in my life? Where is there a sense of emptiness? Where is there a gap that I would like to be filled? For so often, on the other side of that emptiness is a sense of holiness, It is only by acknowledging the empty parts that we have a sense of what can change, of what we can add, what can grow. Where in your life are you experiencing emptiness? And I invite you to name that reality either out loud into our gathered community or into our Zoom chat as we hold our empty vessels in our hand and think about that sense. And yet, so often from that emptiness, when we think about that lack, when we think about where there's a gap, we come to a sense of darkness, right? We come to a sense of darkness. So holding on to our plant, and especially really feeling the soil around your plant, I invite you to consider the decomposers that we talked about in today's service. The beetles and the fungi and the worms, all things that take matter that is no longer needed and turn it into something new from whence new life can grow. So holding the soil in our hands, I invite you to call on the spirits of these decomposers. And I ask you the question, what in your life needs to die so that new life can be reborn? What in your life is ready to be decomposed as we hold the soil in our hands? And next, I invite you to hold the plant itself in our hands as we think about the fact that the tallest tree and the smallest blade of grass all started from that same seed, all started from a seed. And when we think about hope as we hold our plant in our hands, I invite you to consider the seed waiting, buried in that soil, that dead, decomposed stuff, waiting for the sunlight and waiting for the water that will allow it to sprout. For so often when we are buried, we do not know that we are a seed. We do not know what is coming next. And I invite you to consider what hope is arising in your life. What is bringing you hope in these moments? So take a moment to think about that question. What is bringing you hope? Like the seed buried in soil, what is bringing you hope for a new day? And once again, I invite you to share your answer into our gathered community by speaking aloud a few words or by typing in the Zoom chat. What is bringing you hope? And finally, as we hold our empty vessel, our emptiness, our soil, our dead, decomposed stuff, and our hope for a new day, we close our ritual together by gathering our water and pouring it into our plant, giving ourselves the stuff, the sustenance, the water, the sunlight that we need to alight a new day. I invite you to water your plant together. Happy Earth Day, happy Easter. As we go out into our breakout rooms, I invite you to share some of the answers that you shared maybe in the Zoom chat or into our gathered community. Some answers to our questions about the dead, decomposed stuff and the new life arising into your world. Happy Easter, everyone.